You know, when you get married in the United States, you have a 50-50 chance your love will last. An average 1 in 2 marriages ends in divorce.
Oh, it's so sad to me.
Yeah.
Startling statistic. But when the relationship ends, our next guest says it's important to be better and not bitter. Lisa Nkonoki is a life coach and family advocate and is here with us today to talk about some important tips for surviving a divorce. Welcome back. It's great to have you
Hi,
here.
Lisa. Good to see you again.
Hey, good to see you, Steve. My buddy over there.
Oh,
So
way
you
back.
guys go way back?
No, we go way back, but no pictures, please.
Terrific. Well, Lisa, let's start off. What's going through the minds of a couple that are getting divorced? It's a very emotional time.
It's very, I mean, you're ready to do battle. But,
Sure.
But on different playing levels and different sides. I guess the person who's serving the other person with divorce papers, that person is usually stunned and shocked. Even though there could be things going on that, you know, might have not been working right, I think it's still a shock to actually get the divorce papers served on you.
It's like official almost,
yeah,
right?
and then, but I think you're almost in a trance. Usually when I've seen lots of women that have been served with divorce papers, for example, they're usually in disbelief and almost go into total, you know, hysteria. And so there's really no, you go from hysteria to have to be in action mode because then you're panicked. What do I do? What does this mean? And there's no real book per se, or no real place to call in. It's not the divorce hotline. Like, what do I do next?
There's a lot of uncertainty, I'm sure. But what about the emotional roller coaster? What will somebody in average the emotions they'll go through during that period?
Well, you know, people are going to go from sadness to fear.
Yep.
It depends on your financial status, if you even know what's going on in your household, if there's other betrayal. There's all types of things that are going on. So I always tell people, make sure to get a good therapist. It doesn't mean you're crazy. It just means that it's the unknown, and to help someone go through that and the range of emotions, especially if you have kids. If you have kids, you are usually displaying those emotions without, you know, even though people say, oh, my kids are first. That usually is the case. They mean that, but it usually is not what's translated when you actually see the behavior.
I mean, I'm assuming it would be very traumatic.
Yes,
it's hard to deal with.
it is.
So, Lisa, let's talk about things you have to do when going through a divorce. You say right off the bat, be proactive.
You have to be proactive. You need to put your business hat on. This is a business transaction, people. I mean, unfortunately, I see women, more so than men, I'll say, that think the courts are going to right the wrongs, if there is such a thing. And I always tell them, the courts aren't your moral compass. It's just not going to happen. This is a business transaction. You need to look at like that and prepare and do your homework. You need to really kind of get fine-tuned about what's reality here and figure out what is, you know, what is on the table, what's at stake here.
Yeah, but you also mentioned something really good, which is interview the right lawyer. Get the right lawyer on your team, because it should be a team approach,
yes.
right?
Again, men tend to be much better in this department from my experience. Anyways, they tend to go through, ask questions, interview a variety of lawyers. Women tend to be in shock and go to the first lawyer usually and say, I need you, I'll take you, this is it. And then both sides usually expect the lawyers to have all the answers. Lawyers are there to help to guide you, but ultimately, you know what your lifestyle is like, you know what you want it to be like, you know what your goals and objectives are, so you're really the mastermind of this. You just have to employ a team of people to help give you the right information so you can make the right decisions.
You're probably going to need some cash on hand when this happens.
Definitely need cash.
Plan ahead.
If you didn't know and you had joint checking accounts and bank accounts, that could change in a matter of a day. A credit card, I see it all the time where credit cards cut off within 15 minutes. You might not know it, and the other side knows
that's
it.
So mean.
And then if you haven't developed credit for yourself in your own name,
that's like a tender goodbye.
See you later.
Hey, but guess what? You want to cut. If you're the other person, you want to cut your losses. You're not going to be making sure you have a credit card for the other person you just served to go run it up and, you know, do damage or do battle with you in the pocketbook. So there are other reasons, you know, good and bad. The one thing in the state of Connecticut, you do have what's called automatic orders, which traditionally basically kind of says without saying you're not supposed to change the status quo of what's going on. Now, again, you know, there's ways that people
get around that, right? I'm sure.
Now, how long is the process generally to get
in the state of Connecticut? You can do a do-it-yourself divorce. I think it's a few $100s. Usually a 120-day cooling off period, and then you can get in there. But again, that depends on your assets. That depends on how compatible,
how agreeable everyone's going to be, right?
Which, you know, the good thing is, even if you can do it yourself, I say you still should consult with a lawyer, because you really don't know all the nuances. I actually am helping to mediate a couple, which they're wonderful, but they really were focused on their kids. they had health issues, and they knew they didn't want to take all their assets, the limited assets they had, and plow them into attorneys. They figured, listen, at the end of the day, we have to talk to each other. Lisa, can you help us kind of facilitate this? And I've been able to do it. The first thing we did, though, was work out a schedule for their kids and work out some just menial, financial things. They couldn't get to the big things. That was a huge thing that we're still working on, but at least we could get to something where everybody could at least have a moment to breathe.
What about a bonus? Give us like one big bonus tip before we go. Something that when people are at home watching this today, they can take one strong thing out of this. What would you say?
You better know your finances. You better know your bills, your expenses, and you better project how that's going to be. If you have a house and you sell it, you've got to get one on your own. If you're getting alimony, how much that's going to be your only income if you're a stay-at-home mom. If you have to get a job, if you need child care, all these things, kids' activities.
It's very overwhelming.
It's overwhelming, and that's where people run into problems. That's why you need a team approach, and that's why you need to be better, not bitter, because at the end, you're only going to be bitter if you didn't pay attention and do your homework along the way.
But you and I talked about this before. Really, take care of your health.
Yes.
Take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself.
Maybe join a gym.
Join a gym. Go to a spa.
Keep busy, right?
Religious, sometimes spirituality. Keep consistency in your life, because consistency and friends and family, not to take sides, but to just be there and give you a hug and say, go. I'm the cheerleader. That's what I do as a life coach. I'm like, go, go, go. We can get through it. It's difficult, but guess what? Life is difficult, and it's how we get through things that's going to be ultimately how we prevail and how we move on forward with our lives.
Lisa, you're the best.
Thank you.
Lisa's been, we've known each other through multiple lives.
Yes.
But she's a great lady. Lisa Nkonoki. All right, thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.